Hey there, Squirrel Army, how's it going? Today we are talking about Kaust, Eyes of Gale, the face commander from the Deadly Disguise commander deck.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so they've started to spoil some of the cards from Karloff Manor now. So this is for the Naya Precon deck. The Deadly Disguise Precon deck. Honestly, I'm not very impressed with this, or basically any of the commanders from the face commanders thus far. But I will discuss them, as I don't want to have to do it again later or whatever. I don't want to take up too much time in another video to just discuss what I think of these cards. So 2 mana, either red or white, and green for 2/2. Okay, 2 mana, 2/2, not horrible, I guess, whatever, that's fine. Whenever creature you control that was turned face up, this turn deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So, like, I think, like, morphs and things like that work this way, where they don't have summoning sickness when you flip them over. But the thing about, like, having these effectively morph creatures, and I know they're not all morphs, they've got a new keyword as well, I think, to some of these things that they put down in secret and whatnot. You know, they've already have the ability to attack, so they don't really need haste or whatever. But the thing that they do probably need is flying, trample, menace, any kind of good, you know, decent evasion sort of thing. The number of morphs or face down cards that they have in these colors is effectively none, like maybe 1 or 2, maybe a couple, not a huge amount. Like, most of them are green. Like, not that there's absolutely none, but there's not a huge amount of them. Sure, they'll probably print a lot more in this set, but certainly none of the ones that exist that I'm aware of are very good. Like, there's a couple that are okay, and that's about it. Like, there's nothing that's big and bad and scary or you know, small and evasive that actually does something, you know, realistically. So, okay, like, they're gonna need to print a lot of stuff to really, you know, do anything with this. And then you can turn target face down, attacking creature face up. So you can attack with your random 2/2 that basically doesn't do anything, or whatever it is. And then hopefully people will, if people, you know, don't know what you've got, you can flip it over and be like, haha, it's a death touching thing, or whatever else it is, or whatnot. So, like, being able to flip things over is pretty good, but just the cost that you've kind of got to do it at with this guy isn't really good. I'd rather just pay 1 mana or something to do it rather than having to tap this guy, because at least then I can probably do it multiple times per turn rather than just once per turn. So, and even if it was like a couple more mana than just like 1 generic mana or whatever, not generic mana, but you know what I mean, just if it was even 2 or 3 mana, or even maybe 4 mana to flip cards, then it might be still pretty good. This, just being able to only do it once per turn, feels really bad. So the only real way I can see this guy doing a whole lot is if you make token copies of him to, you know, flip those things over. Because again, like, you don't want to pay the morph cost or the transform cost or whatever the new mechanic of it is gonna be, because a lot of the time when you've invested those couple of mana to cast the creature as its face down form, that's already too much, almost too much mana for just a 2/2, or whatever. And then having to pay an extra 5 mana or whatever it is just to flip it over and get a, you know, very mediocre thing on the other side isn't that amazing most of the time, like I say. So this commander, it doesn't really do a whole lot for me, and I don't think it's going to do a whole lot in the format, realistically. The thing about the format, like we've sort of said it a lot, but the format continues to just get power crept and power crept and power crept. Like, if you want to do some janky morph or whatever stuff that this guy's doing, like, yeah, sure, like, cool, cool. This isn't for me, certainly, so I'm going to be more looking at the sub commander. Though I am very, very enamored with his little boy there, that little cute little boy that's just right there, sitting on his arm. I don't know whether that's a squirrel. I think it is. But yeah, like on the box, as I sort of said, I think I said that in the other video that hasn't actually come out yet, but smart me. Yeah, on the box it actually has a little squirrel there, so I think it's a squirrel. But anyway, that's the one thing that I kind of like about this card, that there's kind of a little squirrel boy right over here, and I'm just gonna pet the squirrel. But yeah, it doesn't really do anything that I'm thinking most people would want to do for the most part, because it's just too many hoops and not powerful enough to really take advantage of it. So yeah, you know, what are you gonna do? You're gonna like flip them back over, just to flip them back over again to their front side, just to get them to draw a card again. Like, you can draw cards much easier than that, especially in these colors. And yes, sure, if you've got something big and scary that you flip over, and you flip it over for effectively just tapping this guy, then that's not that bad, because like you would have had to spend all that mana. Like I said, like it's not that bad to have to flip these things with this guy, but I'd rather just pay a couple of mana, like, you know, even on this guy, just to be like, okay, I flipped this dude for 2 mana or whatever it is, or 3 mana or 4 mana or whatever it is. You know, like, as long as it's not over the mana cost or whatever, or it says, you know, the cost to flip a morphed creature or whatever it is, transformed creature, costs whatever less, you know, or something. That would incentivize me to play these morph things or whatever else you're going to play in this deck, because then at least you can be able to cast them or flip them more easily, or whatever else it is. Kadena is obviously the other morph commander that does stuff with like these cards and whatnot, but that's on when you cast them. Like, instead of just being like, oh, well, I have to attack with it and then I have to flip it, and, you know, like, yeah, sure, again, like, if they print some really good stuff for this, it could be alright, but it, like I said, like, Tulane was printed a few years ago, like, and Corvo was printed a few years ago. People are playing much, and again, Magic's moved way beyond, like, those cards in a lot of ways, but those are really still good, really great commanders. This isn't a great commander. Like, this will be lucky if this makes a deck. Like, people might make decks out of this just because they pull the precon and just, like, don't know what else to do with it and just leave it as it is for the most part or whatever. But, like, most people won't. Most people like me will be, like, looking at the sub-commander and going, well, is the sub-commander any good? Because this isn't very good. So why would I invest my time in this when it's more hoops than Kadena, worse than Kadena because it's not in as good of colors for morphs, and what are they going to print for it? Like, I don't know. Like, again, like, I haven't seen anything about it, but again, like, if they're going to make another mechanic that's like morph, or whatever, then, yeah, like, how good's it going to be? Again, like, even if this was a mana dork, just for morph abilities or whatever else it was, transform or whatever, I don't care what you want to call it. You can call it Pikachu's, I don't care. But again, like, if this was just, like, tap it for, you know, 3 generic mana, but only be able to use it for morph costs or transform costs, be perfectly fine. Like, because then at least, like, you know, like, you might be incentivized to think about, like, playing things that untap this, certainly, anyway, but still, like, then you're getting much better benefits out of it. I guess if it just transforms them, honestly, so you don't have to spend any extra mana, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it's tough with some things because obviously, like, some things are just like 2 or 3 mana to transform, but they're obviously not that amazing when once you do transform them, so it's not much different than tapping this guy just to transform them. Whereas some other things have a huge transform or morph cost or whatever it is, or mega morph cost or whatever. But, like, they're not honestly that good. Like, again, like, morphs aren't very good. And I hate the whole secrets thing. Like, even when I'm playing it, I always, like, flip the card over to read it and then go, right, okay, cool, that card does this, and then flip it back over. 2 seconds later, I will go, now what the frick did that freaking card do, and have to flip it back up and read it again, and then put it back down again. And then literally 2 seconds later, I will have to do it again, and again, and again, and again, every few seconds to be like, what does this card do again? I can't remember as long as it's flipped over. Like, it's just every few seconds you're having to look at the card and go, oh, what does this do again? Oh, yeah, cool. What does it do again? Oh, yeah, cool. What does it do again? Oh, yeah, cool. Right, whatever. Not relevant to me, probably almost ever. Okay, cool. Yeah, am I sure it's not relevant almost ever? Oh, yeah, sure, it's not relevant almost ever. Cool, I'll put it back down. You know, like, you're always doing that and going, this card sucks. Why am I playing it? Oh, yeah, because I'm playing this commander that wants to flip things, and these are the only flip things. You know, like with some of the lands, it could be a bit odd. Like, some of the creature lands and things like that are a creature on the other side and a land on the other, or whatever. So that could be really weird. Like, you have... Because I think the backside is the creature side. Or is it? Like, I think there's only, like, one, isn't there? Maybe I'm... oh, yeah, like, I think it's only one, and I think the land is the backside anyway. So it's not face down? Not too sure. Yeah. And you wouldn't attack with it, because it's like a mana dog, I guess. I think that's the only one that I can think of. Maybe there's other ones, and maybe, again, they might print some more, but I don't see it. I don't see that you can build a deck with this, because, like, yeah, it might do sneaky stuff and whatever, but these aren't the colors to do sneaky stuff in, really. Like, Naya's all about, like, I'm just gonna punch you. I have some big boys, and I'm gonna punch you. And doing that in a sneaky way, yeah, cool, okay, that's a different way to kind of take it, but just doing it in this way just doesn't really fit with what the color already has support for, and you're just asking to have to print a whole lot of stuff that really works really well for it. And again, like, yeah, like, the power level of even just casual commander that you go to your LGS or go to your friend's house to play is way more powerful than what this will ever do. Even if it was on cast, like, if it was on cast, when you cast a face down creature, you draw a card and then you can flip it over, you know, by tapping this. I don't know, that'd probably be alright, but then again, you'd still need other things to really make the deck, like, hum and that. Like, you really probably want a lot of, as I sort of said, lots of ways to untap this. And it's not like there's no ways to untap this thing in these colors. Like, there's a couple of ways, but that's kind of like it. Like, there's literally only, like, a very small handful of ways to untap this thing. So, like, you know, you're not going to get that many things to untap. Again, unless they really print a lot of things for this to untap it, to make it, you know, be able to transform more things per turn rather than just one. And those creatures have got to deal combat damage, as I sort of said, so it's not just that they attacked or whatever, they actually have to deal combat damage. So what if somebody fogs, or what if somebody, again, just blocks it, or whatever? Like, unless you've got a flyer, or you've got something with trample and something big enough or something evasive enough, as I sort of said, to really get in there, it's not worth it. You can't, and you've got to say, well, before blocks, I transform it, so then people will know what it is before they have to choose their blocks. Because otherwise, if you have a flyer, people can just go, well, I'll block your random 2/2 because it doesn't have flying yet. Like, and once you flip it over, it's already been declared as being blocked, even though now it has flying. So, like there's not that many things that I would think would have flying in these colors, but sure, like maybe there will be. So most of it will be like menace or trample or whatever, I'm assuming, but still, like, just the way in which the whole mechanic will work just does not lead to anything, really good for this commander. So I'm just waiting to see the other commander and hope it's better. But just based on everything that I've seen so far from this set, or from this commander set at least, it doesn't, like the face commanders that I've seen, I'm not too hopeful because they all seem really watered down. But you guys can let me know what you think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. Do you think this is, as bad as what I think it is? Obviously, it's not the worst card in the world ever, but again, I'm just looking at the state of the format overall, and the state of the format just, like, this thing will never get anywhere or do anything, I don't think. Like, again, like, if you've got really big things to support this, or it supporting those really big things with trample and whatnot, and maybe, sure, but again, I just don't think they'll print that many really good things for it, I don't think. But anyway, as I said, you guys let me know what you think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed one way or the other, and hope you'll join me again in the next one.